Hi, my name is Ross from Loot Audio, and today I'm going to do a quick overview of Divergent Audio Group's new Kontakt instrument, Aleatoric Metamorphic Movement. Aleatoric Metamorphic Movement, or AM for short, is a multi-layered tonal and textural Kontakt instrument featuring great emphasis on spontaneity, making creating sonically captivating soundscapes trivial. At the heart of the instrument, AM produces sound by utilising 4 audio sources. A sample can be selected by either scrolling using the arrows either side of the sample name, or by selecting the sample name and scrolling through the list. I'm personally a big fan of the bamboo flute samples found in AM, so I'm going to choose one of these. Let's take a listen to that. Okay, next I might choose to layer this sound with an atmospheric sample to add more depth and context to my soundscape. Again, I quite enjoy the water flow sample found inside of AM, but this time I'm going to pitch my sample down to better match the tonally darker sound of the flute. To counteract any potential rumble or muddiness that pitching down the sample could have caused, I'm going to make use of the included EQ unit to drop the low end of the sample. I'll layer these two with one more tonal sample and one more atmospheric sample to thicken both aspects of the sound. For my complementary tonal sample, I'm going to make use of the Galileo choir samples found inside of AM. And for my complementary atmospheric sample, I'm going to use Winds of Change. Let's take a listen to that. Okay, so at the moment the attack time of the samples are a little too intense for the ambient sound I'm striving for, but solving this is pretty simple. If I navigate to the envelope parameters for each source, I can adjust the length of the attack of my samples independently, making my output much more sonically manageable. Now, to help with separation, I'm going to pan my atmospheric layers far to the left and to the right of my mix, and my tonal samples just slightly either side of the centre. On top of helping to create more definition between my layers, this will also enhance the stereo field of my sound, making for a larger, more immersive experience. Next, I'll focus on the source gain ratio and movement pad, where I'll begin to create some dynamic progression and animation. As my soundscape includes organic water samples, I'd like to periodically bring the gain of the water sample up and down in relation to the other sample sources, to emulate the natural crashing of waves. This will also help to continually accentuate different aspects of my soundscape. To do this, I'll make use of the circular movement modulator. Visually, this will cause a faint square to orbit the central solid white square, indicating the distribution of gain. By slowly fading between each source, our water sound will closely resemble that of a crashing wave, and each of our sources will be repeatedly independently emphasized. Simple adjustments such as this can drastically enhance the dynamic character of our track. Let's take a listen. Another method that can be utilised to further enhance this effect can be carried out using the Edit Modulation menu. Here we have the ability to modulate pretty much any parameter. In this case, I'm going to make use of LFO1 to modulate the volume of my water sound source. I'm going to keep it slow by pulling the rate knob down to a minimum, and I'm going to just decrease the intensity of the effect by pulling down the depth fader. We can listen to the effect that these changes have made by simply disabling any movement modulators we've got enabled and then soloing the source. Next, I'll begin to focus on the filter movement and resonance pad. My atmospheric elements have already been given a nice amount of dynamic progression, but this pad allows us to create even more immersion by using filter sweeps and resonance modulation. I can dictate which source I want this effect to be applied to simply by deselecting the All button and selecting the number of the source that I want to affect. In this case, it will be source 4. Now I can move source 4's square to the centre of the pad and move these squares back to ensure they're not affected. I'm going to use the same circular modulation unit to ensure that both my filter cutoff frequency and resonance are both being modulated. The only difference I'll make in this case is I will enable the retrig button to make sure that each MIDI key press will restart the modulation unit. So let's disable our movement and solo the source and take a listen. Let's take a listen all together. As a final finishing touch to my composition, I'm going to select the Edit Effects option to add some reverb and delay. For the reverb, I'm going to enable the convolution unit with the Exhibition Hall impulse response selected. And all I'm going to do is pull up the low cut and pull down the high cut to get rid of any build-up of muddiness and to bring back some air. For delay, I'm going to use the replica delay, where I'm going to leave all the parameters as they are, except do the same thing with my low cut and high cut knobs. Overall, this leaves us with a fantastic wall of sound ambient soundscape, with our filter movement pad creating an almost otherworldly-esque sound. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoy your time with Aleatoric Metamorphic Movement.